This week in Arsenal, the Gunners win the English Super Cup. That's right. We just played Manchester City in well, I guess, the Community Shield, as everyone likes to call it, but it's the English Super Cup because we won it. If we'd lost it, it would have been just a friendly. But yeah, really, really fun day out. And, Sash, who, of course, you can follow on Twitter at LT Arsenal. I'm Sham. You can follow me on Twitter at Shamsdale. Sash, that was a fun game, my friend. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, it was a really nice game. I thought Arsenal played phenomenally well over the course of the 90 minutes. It was a greatly enjoyable match right from minute one, where I thought it was a game of chess for large parts of the first half. But I was really impressed with the way Arsenal played both defensively and even offensively, barring maybe the finishing. I thought we really showed that we've come quite far in terms of playing against Manchester City, and some of the mistakes that we made last season were not repeated today. And I thought we really showed great defensive grit off the ball, didn't make many mistakes either. And for me, this is something that we can take a lot of positives from. What were your thoughts
Yeah.
on the game?
Yeah, it's you know, I don't you never want to put too much stock into this game. I mean, I do count it as a trophy, to be quite honest, but you know, it's definitely more of a friendly than, other games that we're going to play this season. But all that being said, I think we took it seriously, and heading into the season where our primary competition for the Premier League is probably going to be Manchester City, where one of the teams that we're going to have to be better than to win the Champions League is Manchester City. To go up against them head to head in, for all intents and purposes, a cup final and get the better of them, especially after going down a goal, to come out on top after that, I think it's a really nice psychological boost. And, these players, after time and time again going, running up against City and losing and watching them win the things that we wanted to win, I think, this will kind of send the message to them that we can do this, that we can beat them. So hopefully the next time we play them, probably in the league, it's not going to have that much of it's not going to be that much of a weight, mentally speaking and emotionally speaking. I think they're going to enter that match with more confidence. So yeah, I'm really excited by that.
No, absolutely. I think the key part from this game is that on a psychological level, I think we are in a stage now where maybe we won't crumble against Manchester City, because historically, especially last season, it seemed to me like we were not able to handle the pressure. But I know it's a community shield game. And if we lost today, I would have called it a preseason friendly. But to be honest with you, like um, getting and actually putting in a decent performance against them, I think is a huge thing for us. And we have to take this into the league now. Arsenal haven't beaten Manchester City in the Premier League since 2015. It was 2015
Mhm.
November, I believe, or December. I think Walcott and Giroud scored. It was a long time ago, the last time Arsenal defeated City in the league. And now we have to take this into the Premier League. But I just want to get into the game now, and actually discuss that at length, because I thought it was a fascinating game between two sides with very similar philosophies, so as to
Mhm.
speak. And the first 25 minutes were like a game of chess, where I think City had most of the ball, but Arsenal had a really good defensive shape off the ball. And the way we defended in that first 25 minutes, I thought was really admirable, because we were under pressure and City didn't really create much. I don't think Ramsdale had any save to make during that period. So they always say you ride out the storm, and then express yourself. And I think that's what Arsenal did. We rode out a very difficult part of the match. And what we did after that was we started to grow into the game. And honestly, I think if you look at that first half, I believe personally that Arsenal were the better side. Like we had more um, like dangerous moments than Manchester City did. I think we could have had a couple of goals easily as well. I think Kai Havertz should have scored a couple of goals, and if you're being honest, the score at halftime should have been 2-0 to Arsenal, despite City's dominance for large parts of the game. So I think the first half was really positive for me. But Sham, I want to know what you made of the first half, because a lot of people were criticizing the club for the way we played in the first 25 minutes, saying, look at us, we're not touching the ball. But if you
Mhm.
look at it objectively, I thought we were better. Like, we had more like interesting moments. We defended well. We had a good shape. And I think it was a lot of positives to take, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing to remember right off the top is that when you're playing Manchester City and Barcelona and Real Madrid, and maybe Bayern Munich is still in that conversation as well. When you're playing the best teams in the game, it's not a given that you're going to be dominating possession, that you're going to be in control of the ball, especially at the outside of the match. Sometimes it's just a matter of controlling the game without the ball and controlling those spaces, forcing the opponent to, play the ball into low value areas. And I think we did a really good job of that. I really liked our pressing to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've all become accustomed to that 4-4-2 out of possession shape that we have. I think to start this match though, I think it was more of I think it was like a 4-3-3 maybe. The important part here is that Odegaard and Havertz, right, were leading the press, both of them, and pressing really high. And coming up with them was Declan Rice, which I thought was really interesting, right? You had Declan Rice, bum rushing Rodri in City's own third every time they tried to play out from the back through a goal kick or anything like that. And I think that is a really interesting tactic that Arteta went with there because, again, Declan Rice, most interceptions, most tackles in the Premier League last season. So, he's clearly trying to win the ball high up the pitch and, create those chances without doing as much work in possession. So I thought it was really interesting. And outside of that, again, I think we looked really secure. Jurriën Timber, we'll talk about him in a bit, was just a brick wall on that left side defense. And, when we did start growing into the game, I think Odegaard had an excellent match and Havertz at center forward. I'll disagree slightly. I don't hold the first chance against him, but the second one, definitely, I think he should have scored that.
Yeah, the
But
first was a bit behind him, maybe. That's what I felt.
exactly, yeah. I think he did a good job of turning that into something.
Yeah.
But yeah, the second one definitely, I think he should have placed that shot a little better. But both of those chances, I think, were really encouraging because Havertz created that space in the
Mm.
penalty box,
Mm.
which is something that we love seeing from Jesus, and it's something that Eddie and Nketiah can also do as well. And so, Havertz kind of dummied his run a little bit where he had the City defenders thinking he was running towards the byline. At the last second, drops back towards the penalty spot, and Saka plays the ball into him,
Yeah.
which I thought was really good. So, yeah, it was an encouraging first 45. I think the important thing here is to enter halftime feeling like you're in it. And we
Mm.
for sure were in it. We were arguably the better team. That's definitely something that you could debate. But the main thing is we were at least even with them. And 0-0 at halftime did not feel like we were lucky to be there or something like that. So it was a very encouraging first half.
No, absolutely. I was a bit frustrated going into the half because against City, you don't always get chances. And when you get the chances, you want to take them. I had flashbacks from the game at the Emirates where I think Eddie had a few good chances in the first half, which he didn't take. And City obviously punished us in the second half. And to be honest, the second half as well, I think we started quite well. I think Martin Odegaard was growing into the game. And somehow, whenever Odegaard plays well, Arsenal also play well. I thought he started to grab the game by the scruff of the neck. He sent Kovacic back to Chelsea with that skill. Like, that was beautiful to watch.
Great
that
move.
piece of skill. Yeah, and in general, I thought we were playing very well. We were expressing ourselves. We were, going into the tackles with more intent than the first 25 minutes, where you can say we were a bit tentative. And Kai Havertz as well, as you mentioned, was also growing into the game. I don't think he had many touches, but I feel like all of the touches he had were really like valuable, and
Mhm.
something came of it. But I feel in the second half he dropped off slightly. Personally, that's what I felt, slightly dropped off. I think Martinelli also did not have his best of games. But still, I think we were functioning quite well. It was still a very even match. Both sides were not creating much, but I think if you looked even at the second half until Manchester City scored for those first 20 minutes, if you asked yourself which team is more likely to score at this very moment, I think we can both agree that it was Arsenal that looked the more likely of the two teams to score. But what happened obviously was Arteta made a substitution. He removed Timber, brought Tierney on. And a lot of people seem to, I don't know, for some reason, blame Tierney. They're like, he should not have taken Timber off. But come on, I just think that's a moment of brilliance. And like, I know Foden turns away from Partey, and again, people are blaming Thomas Partey that. But the way I'm viewing it is that Foden is one of the best players, in my opinion. Once he has the ball, he's so quick and you cannot catch him. Thomas Partey was already on a yellow card as well. So I think really you cannot blame anyone too much for that goal. Like even Tierney, people like, he should not have allowed him to cut in. But I think that's an insane finish, like from Cole Palmer. Like sometimes as fans, you just have to tell when an opposition player does well, fair play to you. You actually scored a good goal. And I think that's the case. In City, I don't think they deserve to be ahead based on the balance of play, but they were ahead. But Sham, what were your thoughts on the second half, the way we started, and also the goal? It really seemed to me like it came totally against the run of play. Did you also see it the same way?
Yeah, I think with the goal, City just it was a restart off of a foul or something like that, right? Or am I misremembering it?
I think yeah, or it came from a corner or something. It was like a counter-attacking situation, I think, where we had a lot of our players committed forward,
Yeah.
I think. And actually, even in the goal, sorry to cut you off there, even in the goal, I thought Declan Rice almost made an epic interception to prevent the ball from going to Palmer in the first place. He got a
Yeah.
foot to it, but yeah, I could not prevent that. But it was some counter attacking chance, I think, from what I remember.
Yeah, and they just caught us at, in a moment of a little bit of disorganization. I do think I'm not sure if that was the right move for Party to be as far up the pitch as he was, but
Hmm.
once Foden got past him, it's one of those things where again, he is already on a yellow card, very
Yeah.
undeserved yellow card, by the way. I don't want to
Yeah,
spend too much
I
time
could not
talking about
believe
that.
it. This was like after 15 minutes or something. Like, what the hell? Like, it's not even like he kicked the ball with some intent. It was just like I mean, he didn't even mean to like waste time there. Like, who wants to waste time after like 10 minutes? Like, I don't get it. Like, what the hell? Like, was that?
It really felt like one of those games, and sorry about the tangent, but it really felt like one of those games where they wanted to make a statement about some of the new rules that they've implemented
Yeah.
this year, the FA. So, you had Party kicking the ball away and he got a yellow. I think City player also got a yellow for kicking the ball away. Arteta pretty quickly got a yellow card for quote unquote antics in the technical area.
Yeah.
So I think they're just, trying to make examples out of people. But
I mean, I think we're the first team where our manager gets booked when an opposition player commits a foul. Like, how the hell did Rodri not get like a yellow card? I
yeah,
can't believe.
I Rodri, the eighth wonder of the world is how Rodri does not get more yellow cards. I've watched this
Yeah.
guy make some horrendous tackles, some potential career enders, and just
Yeah.
stay on the pitch after that. So, yeah, really interesting how that works. But with Party getting caught up the pitch against Foden, once Foden spun him, there really wasn't much Party could do without risking getting sent off. And after that, I think Tierney's one mistake is that he got the ball really quickly, and I think he just panicked slightly and
Yeah.
tried to kind of just get the ball up the pitch without really thinking about where he was putting it. Granted, a lot of things are happening. He had two City players kind of coming, sprinting at him. So it's not something I'm going to really hold against him too much. And then, after that, Cole Palmer, I think, just really does really well to lose him, put the ball into the far top corner. It is what it is. Sometimes those are the goals that you're going to concede. But yeah, I mean, I think until then we were playing pretty well. I think you're right in saying that Havertz had dropped off a little bit. His link up play and his hold up play, I think, were really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, things slowed down a little bit for him. I think Odegaard was running the show at that point, very much leading by example. And yeah, I think once City scored, you started to kind of feel that what's what I'm looking for here, that feeling of like, here we go again. City are going to win. That feeling of inevitability started creeping back in to the
Yeah.
match, where you know that City are going to win it somehow.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really disappointing to see them score that way, but then we got to see some really interesting performances after that, where you had Smith Rowe. I think he had a really good cameo again today. I'm increasingly excited to see what he does this season. I think he's really intent on restaking his claim in the team somewhere. And then Trossard, of course, has had a magnificent preseason, continued that today, took that chance on kind of cutting in from the right flank, kind of dummied across for a second, lost his man, and then just shot his shot. Was it lucky? Yes. Still think we kind of deserved that at the end of the day. So yeah, all in all, I think it was a slightly weaker second half. I think we didn't have as much control as we did in the first. I think once De Bruyne came on the pitch, it was just a little bit more difficult for us. But yeah, all in all, really, it was really convincing for me. I think this preseason, you've had people kind of wondering about whether or not we're ready for the season to start, and I think that's really just been down to Arteta kind of experimenting a little bit, seeing what his options are with the versatility of this squad, and trying some things out, and it not necessarily clicking immediately. So I think what we saw today is a better representation of what we can expect to start the season, and yeah, all in all, strong performance throughout.
Yeah, no, could not agree more. Especially on the second half. I think after the goal, the fight back was really good from Arsenal. Arteta changed to his famous 1-3-6 formation with William Saliba taking charge of the full back four all by himself. And I think that's also testament to the player William Saliba is because not many defenders in the world can just be alone by themselves in that zone where you have guys like Alvarez, De Bruyne, and all these guys running at you. But the way he handled those situations was just magnificent. The composure the guy showed, just wow. Like I was so in awe of how he played throughout the match, but especially when we were chasing the game and Arteta took off Gabriel, Tierney was overlapping, Ben White was overlapping, and it was just Saliba at the back. Absolutely epic display from him. But
Yeah.
like you also mentioned that like the substitutes that came in, Vieira, Smith Rowe, I think that impact was really good. The way they imposed themselves and they tried to make things happen. As fans, that's what we want to see: players trying to make things happen. But it was not just these two. I thought the real standout was Leandro Trossard. Like
Hmm.
for me, Leandro Trossard is the best squad player in the Premier League. I think, right? He
Yeah.
can cover three positions in attack. Amazing down the middle, as we saw last season when we went 7 games without losing. He was getting an assist every other game. Really good on that left hand side as well, drifting inward. And, because of what he brings, you can have a player like Tierney who overlaps. He's also quite good, as we saw in certain parts of preseason, playing as the eight. He's really good on those pockets of space. So this, what I see in this guy is that he's a really versatile player, phenomenal work ethic, has so much initiative with the way he plays, superb at ball striking as well with either foot, and yeah, he gets limited minutes, but when he gets the minutes, he makes things count. And yeah, what a player, like what a signing for like 25 million in
Yeah.
January. Absolutely epic signing by Arsenal. Epic signing. And like I think Martinelli should still start because he had like 15 league goals last season. But as a manager, it's going to be really hard to leave out a player like Trossard, considering how well he played. And obviously, all his efforts were rewarded again with a well-deserved goal, which was deflected. And I think it was well-deserved for Arsenal. Like, let's be real. I think Arsenal probably edged the game and should have won it. But you also had like the Foden chance, which Ramsdale saved. So maybe City could have also made it 2-0. So I think at the end, both managers would probably say that, yeah, a draw in the end was a fair result. Like Arsenal definitely didn't deserve to lose that match. And all of this basically culminated in a penalty shootout. But before getting into the penalty shootout, Sham, I just want to ask you like how you think our new signings got on. Because for me, Kai Havertz, as we already discussed, was really good in that first half, and he showed certain things that not many Arsenal players showed last season. Like I feel at certain points of last season, we also needed an option who can collect the ball when we go long, but we always had to play it out from the back because we didn't have that player with the frame and physicality of someone like Havertz. And I think he showed in certain parts of the first half what he can bring. But I also want to get your thoughts on Declan Rice and Jurien Timber. And we can first start off with Declan Rice. I just don't get one thing. Like people on social media don't seem to understand what Declan Rice is about and what he brings on a football pitch. Like they expect him to be the guy that's having the ball and constantly breaking the lines. I've seen some United fan, of course, these are wind up merchants, say stuff like McTominay is better than Rice. Like what the actual hell? Like sometimes you should watch the game. The way Declan Rice reads the game, he's always in the right position. That first 25 minutes without Declan Rice on the pitch, Arsenal definitely concede a few chances. Our block was super solid, and this in large part was down to Rice, I think, playing the way he did. Um, I'll also touch upon this more in the tactics segment, which I will do tomorrow. And Rice actually didn't play super advanced always. He was almost playing as the six, like as the second six next to Thomas Partey at times, which I think is his best position off the ball. And City didn't really create much. And I think this was in large part due to Declan Rice's positioning off the ball. And I thought he had a really solid game. He grew into the match. His role kept growing. And there were a couple of instances where I think in one instance, the way he tracked back and won the ball back from Bernardo Silva, that's exactly what our midfield was missing last season. A guy who can come, get stuck in and win the ball against the best of teams. We didn't have a player like this in our team, but Declan Rice is that player. He's at Arsenal to win the ball back, to drive forward with the ball, and for his leadership. And I think today was just a little taster of what is to come. What are your thoughts, Sham? How did you see his performance?
Yeah, I thought he was really good today. How do I put this? I think, well, first of all, don't. I think United fans and I think Chelsea fans are entering this bracket too, from based on what a lot of them have been talking about this summer. Just don't listen
Hmm.
to United fans. If you're a United fan, you kind of almost automatically don't know what you're talking about when you discuss football. But I think the thing to remember about Rice is that he's not going to immediately come in and be this world class six. But I think that's going to happen eventually. But right now, I think we're just easing him into the team. We're working on building those relationships, trying to, steep him in those Arteta ball tactics. And, just overall, don't put him in a position where, he's going to have the entire burden of the team on him, right? With Thomas Partey, we signed Partey in his prime, and it took him over a year to figure out how to play that sixth position to a high level. So Rice is also going to need some time as well. But I liked him a lot. He played something of a Xhaka-esque role today, where he was moving up the pitch, he was combining on that left wing. I think, obviously he's a better carrier than Xhaka is, so he had some good moments where he was carrying, beat some City players. Got the ball on the edge of the box a couple times, although I think he needs to work on his shooting a little bit. I think he was really good in that respect. And then he just covered a lot of ground in total. He was going up the pitch, but I think what we're going to see a lot this summer, or sorry, this not the summer, this season, is we're going to have center backs carrying the ball forward more often. And so you saw that happen, especially with Gabriel in this match today, where Gabriel would take the ball into midfield. There were a couple times where Gabriel even was, almost entering City's third. And what Rice would do in those situations is he would drop back into, that left center back position. And then when Timber made his way forward, Rice would drop back into that left back position as well. So he was doing a really good job of not only, being an outlet and being, an option to combine with for the likes of Martinelli and Havertz up in the final third, but he was also a guy who was ensuring defensive security whenever our defenders would get involved in the attack as well. So I think he displayed his intelligence today. I think there's definitely some tactical nous involved with the way he played today, and yeah, overall, I'm really pleased with how he's doing, and yeah, I just think it's a matter of time before he takes over that sixth position. But we're gonna have to wait. That's the thing. And yeah, he definitely played his role today in winning his first title with Arsenal. So congrats to Declan.
Yeah, I just realized as well that he won more in one game with Arsenal than Tottenham have since 2007. So that's over 15 years. And yeah, in fact, I'm going to be totally shameless and say 2 trophies in 2 games: Emirates Cup, Community Shield, totally worth the 100 million for me. We have Nick who's tuning in, by the way. He asks me, I think, how's it going? My German is not so good. Thank you, Nick, for tuning in. It's great to see you here. Thank you and welcome to This Week in Arsenal. I know the YouTube channel's name is still LT Arsenal, but we're going to rebrand it to This Week in Arsenal, and have like this weekly show where we come after every match and discuss games. We also have other content plans, so stay tuned for that. Like, we're going to analyze the tactics of every single match, and Sham has some amazing ideas as well that he's coming with around content, and yeah, basically to create stories out of what is going on at this football club. And I think you guys are going to enjoy what's coming. So thank you for your support, and for tuning in and for your comment. Yeah, it means a lot to us. And on that note, I just want to also speak about Timber, who was the third signing this summer. I thought he probably is the guy who has adapted the most so far, and he sort of did say this when he joined Arsenal, that the play styles in Ajax and Arsenal are quite similar. So, like, maybe he didn't have much to adapt. Obviously, he has to adapt to the physicality of the league. Like, playing against Man City is different from, I don't know, playing against PSV. No disrespect to PSV. I think this league is a big step up, obviously, over the Dutch league. So I do think that he has to adapt maybe physically, but tactically, Sham, he's really impressed me. Like, don't you also think so? Like, the way he was receiving the ball under pressure in midfield at times, the way Zinchenko does. Although I know Arteta still used him a bit high and wide and not made him totally inward. But he seems to be able to play a plethora of roles, and defensively seems really good. He also has a bit of bite about him where he wants to make that tackle to win the ball back. So he's sort of a ball winner as well. I think he's another really interesting player, and I'm very, very excited to see how he could be groomed, because this is his first few appearances where he's shown some really interesting qualities. And what we know is players under Arteta get better, especially the players that he wanted and he bought. Literally every single player almost has developed over time. And the early signs from Timber is quite positive, isn't it, Sham?
Oh, 100%. He looks like he's been playing with us for at least a year already. And yeah, I mean, I think he's very quickly becoming a favorite among the fan base, and for good reason. I would go so far as to say that he almost had a perfect performance today. I've been racking my brains as we've been recording, and I've been trying to think of, a single foot he placed wrong, and the only thing I can think of is that pass that he misplaced right before he was subbed off in the second half. That's it. Other than that, he He was driving forward with the ball. He was combining on the left flank. He was dropping into positions that he was needed in. There was one moment, I forget which half this was in, unfortunately, but there was one moment where we had defended a corner against City, and the ball had left the penalty box, and we were coming back out, kind of regaining our shape, trying to close up the pitch a little bit, and there was a big gap, kind of on the right side in front of our defense. So Timber, seeing that we had someone on the left, Timber slotted in basically as an inverted right back for a second, played and combined with Saka a little bit before jogging back to his original role. And defensively, again, brick wall. He snapped into his tackles really well. He blocked. I lost track of the number of crosses that he blocked as well, and he was winning headers in the box. There was one diving header that he made to clear the ball out for a corner when it had been played in a really dangerous situation. Yeah, he was great. I think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens when Zinchenko returns, because at that point, Arteta, I think, is really going to have a decision to make where you have to pick two of White, Zinchenko, and Timber. So who are you going to go with at that point? Which is what you want. You want players, forcing managers into those decisions and knocking on the door of the team. So I think he's been absolutely excellent, and he seems really happy to be here. And yeah, I just I don't think I could have asked for much more than his performance today. And I'm really growing to he's hitting name on the back of the next shirt I buy status. So yeah, pretty excited about him.
No, that's a good sign. I think definitely when we're speaking like this about a new signing hitting the ground running, I think it's a positive sign of what's to come. And yeah, I think as you mentioned, there was the situation where he also inverted and played as the right back, which was quite fascinating. And I think this is what positional play is also about. You want players capable of operating in different zones. And I think Timber has the qualities to operate in different areas. And what this does is it allows a constant interchange of positions. It makes us, I think, more dynamic. And I'm super excited for this guy as well, because I'll be honest with you, like, I don't want to make this about Zinchenko, but like, I don't think Zinchenko at left back is a very sustainable strategy, because firstly, he's very injury prone, and there are many games where he doesn't defend particularly well, and he gets hooked off after 50, 60 minutes. And I think Timber is really good defensively. I think he has an advantage against these left-footed wingers who cut in, because he's right-footed. He's able to basically stop them. And we sort of saw this when Tomiyasu was against Salah last season, and Maitland-Niles was up against Mahrez in 2020 FA Cup. Somehow right-footed wingers seem to do quite well against left-footed wingers. And I think Timber is a very interesting solution potentially at left back. My only reservation for this might be that on that left-hand unit, we have Martinelli, we have Rice, and we have Timber. That's like three right-footers in that left channel, if you want to call it that way. And I wonder sometimes if that might have like some impact, having three right-footers there. Maybe it does, maybe it does not, but I want to see more of that, because at times that unit looked a bit disjointed today, I felt, because I just think somehow a left footer playing there, at least one left footer, whether it was Xhaka before or a more natural option like Zinchenko, Tierney, I just think they give more angles. Like we saw when Trossard came on, he comes on the inside, Tierney goes on the outside, and that dynamic is there. It was not perfect, I felt, for some parts of like the first half and early second half, but I think this is something to work on. But as you mentioned, what Timber brings is versatility, and yeah, could not honestly ask for more than that. Now, finally, we come. Yeah.
Oh, sorry to cut you off. I just wanted to add. I think Zinchenko is a player who. Well, I think what we're going to see is with Timber and Zinchenko, they're going to feature based on the situation in front of us, right? I think Timber is starting against Liverpool, and whenever we come up against a team with a good left-footed right winger, I think Timber is going to feature in those games. But conversely, I think if we are going to play a match against a team that we know are going to sit back in a deep block and pack their box and try to hit us on the counter, I think Zinchenko plays at that point because you want more of that control over the ball. You want someone
Yeah.
who's able to pull the strings and unlock that deep block. So it really depends on, I think, what the situation is going to be. But I definitely agree with with your take that Zinchenko's not a guy who we can just start every single game
Yeah.
and roll out and treat as that kind of player. Not just because of his injury history, but also because I trust Timber more defensively than Zinchenko. And I every once in a while I remember that Trent nutmeg, and I just
PTSD from that.
tough times, tough sell. But yeah, I
Yeah.
just think there are situations where you're going to be making that judgment call and doing that risk assessment, and you're just going to want Timber there to be able to prevent situations like that. And then there are going to be situations where the risk is worth it, and you'll play Zinchenko, and he'll pull the strings and be the playmaker in the middle third, and that's great too. So it's I think the important thing is that we have the options, and we don't have to just rely on one player who may or not be able to perform to those requirements.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Could not have said it better myself. We have a comment from Martin Doherty. Thank you for your comment. He says Timber needs to play right back. This is quite interesting. I would agree with you. I think right back is his best position. But does he get in ahead of Ben White? I'm not sure about that. The way White played today as well was exceptional. So I guess the
I think
dilemma then is how do you fit Timber and White?
Yeah, I think he'll play at right back. He'll definitely get minutes there, but
Hmm.
I don't think he's going to play over White. I think if White's available and we're playing in a cup final or a title decider, White's going to start there. But if White's unavailable or if Arteta kind of feels the need to rest him or rotate him, then I think Timber's the next man up in that case. Timber's going to play in a bunch of different positions. It's not just left back. He'll play left back. He'll play right back. I wouldn't be surprised if he played right center back a few
Yeah,
times this
got
season.
it.
And he'll also play different versions of those roles. Sometimes he'll be an overlapping right back. Maybe he'll invert a couple games, So
Mhm.
he's going to do a lot of different stuff.
Yeah, no. But I agree with Martin's point that maybe he's better right-sided, definitely, than left. I think that's quite clear. Also, the way he drives forward with the ball, Sham, you made this point about potentially playing inverted or overlapping. I think the fact that he can do both is such a big plus for us, honestly. And yeah, I think having players who can do that is it's not so common to find a player like Timber in the market, and to get him wrapped up for 40 something million. Wow, what an
Yeah.
absolute steal that was. And yeah, I'm glad that he's at Arsenal. So on this note, I want to finally touch upon the penalty shootout, which was quite good, to be honest, quite
Yeah.
refreshing. It's not like the usual penalty shootouts that Arsenal have had recently. It actually went quite well. I thought all our penalties were really good. And Ramsdale, obviously, with a decisive save, Sham. Like, people said, Ramsdale cannot stop penalties. He's this keeper who always lets penalties past him, blah, blah, blah. But in the last couple of games, of course, the Emirates Cup is totally irrelevant and we don't really care about that. But he showed that he can save penalties. Like, today's save, I thought was well read. And ultimately, he won us the game, in the penalty shootout. And that's what you want from your keeper, don't you?
Yeah. No, 100%. He didn't just win the game in the shootout. He won the game in regular time too. I think he made some really
Yeah.
important
Yeah.
saves.
No, that's
There
that's a
were
good one. You missed that. Yeah.
There was that point blank header from John Stones that he stopped pretty well, and then there was another header from a corner. It was at the near post. I want to say it was Ruben Diaz who got there, but a header came in from the near post, and he had a really nice dive to stop it and hit it out for a corner as well. So I was really interested to see his performance today in light, of those connections to David Raya, which, at this point, I think I'd be pretty surprised if we didn't sign him.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to see how that would impact Ramsdale's performances. And I think today was a pretty good answer in terms of, you know, Ramsdale's not going to give up. He's not going to see Raya coming in and, you know, decide that his time as the starting keeper is over. Arteta doesn't like him anymore, yada, yada, yada. No, I think Ramsdale's going to fight for his place. Ramsdale is going to act as the number one until he is, you know, definitively told he is not the number one anymore. And yeah, this was him responding to the pressure in a big way. So yeah, I was really impressed by him. Actually, I feel really bad for him actually because ever since the Raya news came out, I feel like everyone has suddenly decided to retcon what we've seen the last 2 years from him
Yeah.
and act like he's not good at, you know, the things that we've watched him be good at for 2 years. One of the ESPN commentators, he played Ramsdale played a pass and it got intercepted by I think De Bruyne, you know, late on in
Yeah,
the
that
game.
one stray pass he played in the second half. Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the commentators said, "Yeah, well, we know is not good at that." Like
Yeah, and the
unironic.
clear
Yeah, yeah,
cut as well. Yeah. I was like, what
yeah.
the
And I
hell?
was,
Like,
and I was sitting there like, "Are
this
you
is not
serious
even
right now?"
good for Arsenal. Yeah.
The whole reason we're here is because he's good at that. Not the whole reason, but a big part of it. And yeah, so you know, I think he's going to have a lot of work to do to reconvince people of his
Mm.
ability. But yeah, he was excellent today. He had a really good save. I'm also going to pretend that he put off De Bruyne into clanging that shot off the underside of the crossbar.
Yeah.
And yeah, yeah, really good performance from him today. Not, I think he had a really solid game when he needed to.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And also that little bit of a fluky save of Foden, which I think went underneath his leg, but he still saved it. A save is a save. Doesn't matter
Yeah,
if you intend to make the save or not. As long as it hits some part of your body and doesn't go into the back of the net, you've saved it. So that's a
that's
save.
that's that that's the whole point. That's what they coach you. You know, even if you don't mean to, you're extending your body in a way where you know you're
Yeah.
maximizing your chances of stopping the ball going in. So
Yeah, absolutely. Now, finally, I want to also speak about like the conclusions that we can draw from this game and
mhm.
who your standout players are and what are the positives and like negatives we can take going into the season. For me personally, as we mentioned at the start of the podcast, that what made this win important for us, and I know we didn't win in terms of the scoreline, but we defeated City and won a trophy. Whatever you say about the Community Shield, it's still a trophy, it's still a piece of silverware. And to win against City, something this team has not done in a long time, was I think refreshing, and that's the first like real positive that I can take from this game. But I also think the other positive is the balance we showed throughout the game. Like we didn't make many mistakes today. Even the goal we conceded was a screamer. We attacked quite well. We should have taken our chances. But all in all, I thought this was a really good performance, really balanced display. It filled me with a lot of composure and an optimism going into the season. Because honestly, before this match, like whether it's the Emirates Cup game or even like the United game, I felt like I was going into the season with more questions than answers. But I think today really showed that no, actually, this team has something about them. We added the right pieces, and you can see glimpses of what our new signings are bringing in as well. And I think that's a huge plus point. But on the players who played well today, I think I have to name most of the team. Ramsdale was excellent. Ben White was phenomenal. Saliba was great. Gabriel didn't have much to do, but I thought he was pretty good as well. Timber was composed. Party, Rice, and Odegaard, sensational. I thought all three of them had periods in the game where they really imposed themselves, which was good to see. I think Saka was okay by his standards, not amazing. Same with Martinelli, not his best game in my opinion. But Havertz showed a lot of positive touches in the first half, and then the substitutes Trossard, Fabio Vieira, and Smith Rowe, and Tierney to a lesser extent. But I thought the substitutes impacted the game well and did what they have to do. So all in all, yeah, I'm going in with a lot of positivity for this one. The only negative I have really is decisiveness, and Arteta speaks about this a lot, being efficient in the boxes. When you get the chance, you have to take it. That's my only criticism, because at this level, the margin for error is so slim. You have to take your chances when you get them against a team like City. Like Havertz, yeah, this is an area he should also get better at. Like the clinicality or whatever in front of goal is something he's always been a bit iffy. So if he can add that to his game where he takes these chances, because he can take these chances, he's technically a phenomenal player. It's just about him getting these things to go in, and I think he can do it. And it's just, I think, a matter of time. But all in all, I think a lot of positives to take going into the season. Sham, how do you see it?
Yeah, I think I'll highlight three standout performers, and the first one we'll go back to Ramsdale. Again, a lot of uncertainty over his long term future, right? So I think today was a day for him to come out and show that he is not, at the very least, he's not going to go down with a fight, but more importantly, that he deserves to continue being the number one goalkeeper at Arsenal. And I think he did that. Again, some really big saves, some good distribution, and a save and a penalty shootout, which, has kind of been something of a bugbear for him. So, yeah, really, really good from him. And then on top of that, I think Martin Odegaard, you know, this preseason, he's been a little up and down at times. I thought today he was phenomenal. I really think he rose to the occasion, and Odegaard is a guy who I think really takes the armband seriously, and really strives to lead by example and to play like a captain. I think he definitely did that today. He absolutely barbecued Kovacic on the right flank, and he had some really lovely combinations. Was really difficult to get the ball off of at times. It almost looked like Cazorla out there, and yeah, definitely ran the show when Arsenal needed someone to step up. And then the third is Leandro Trossard. And, in the NBA, they have something called a sixth man, right? So you have the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth man, which is, the guy who always comes off the bench and makes an impact. They even have an award for it, the sixth man of the year. And for me, Leandro Trossard, you said this earlier on in the pod. I think Leandro Trossard is the best sixth man in the Premier League right now. And he's such a versatile player. He can come off and play in a variety of different positions. We've seen him play at center forward to great effect. He came on originally at left wing, took over from Martinelli there. I think he looked good. But then, one thing I noticed is when we were basically throwing the kitchen sink at City, and we had Saliba as, the single center back, and we had, Smith Rowe and Nketiah and Vieira and Trossard and all those guys, I noticed that we went back to that shape that we first saw against Nuremberg, where Vieira was on the right wing, basically, and then Trossard was on the left wing, even though they were both functioning as eights. They were stretching that pitch as well. So, even in the space of, what was it, like 20, 25 minutes, Trossard was, just being deployed in a number of different ways, and had a very emphatic penalty as well. So, I think we're starting to move towards playing with pods of players. If you've for those of you who have been paying attention during preseason, you'll notice that certain players play together more often than others. So I think we had Trossard, Smith Rowe, and Tierney all come on basically at the same time together. That's a pod. Trossard and Havertz and Jesus was a very effective pod. Earlier in preseason. So the fact that he plays well with so many different combinations of players, I think means he's going to get on the pitch more often. He's going to get a lot of minutes this season. So, once again, he had another phenomenal preseason game. Although I guess this is basically the start of the season. But heading into the start of the season officially next week, Trossard is about as in form as it gets. And we're going to need him to be in that form. We're going to need, other players who are on the bench, like, Smith Rowe and Kivior and, probably Timber at times, and Nketiah as well. We're going to need all those guys to be sharp. So it's highly encouraging. And yeah, he's just a phenomenal player. He makes me happy that we missed out on Mudryk.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I cannot believe, first of all, that Tottenham, they were interested in Trossard that January and they bid like 12 million for him, for Trossard. And I was like, oh my god, imagine if Spurs ended up getting him, because he would be playing week in, week out for them, and I think he would be really good for them if he ended up signing. So I think that was a really opportunistic type of signing, where obviously he had a fallout with Deserby the month before, and we were surveying, looking for that white player, and yeah, he had an instant impact, and he's also carried that on into this season. So absolutely gassed for him. Very intrigued to see if he ends up actually starting more games for Arsenal. Somehow feel like, I don't know how to say it, but like I feel like we somehow play better with him on the pitch. I don't know what it is. Like when he's there, he just seems to combine well with everyone, no matter who is playing on the pitch. And Sham, I think you made this point as well, that the cup competitions, maybe we'll see some players who are not regular starters playing together, and so the associative qualities like of the players become important. And we actually were discussing this on the last podcast that we did with Alex, and I think Trossard typifies that player. He's able to play irrespective of whether he has familiarity with set player or not. So cracking by, and yeah, let's see if he can carry this form into the season. I'm sure he's going to do that. But the most important thing is we have options now, something we didn't have last season. And I have to say, on that note, I'm really excited for what this season has to bring. I think the challenge for Arsenal this season will be how we start the season, whether we can get the signings to adapt and hit the ground running and make sure we're still getting the points on the board whilst they adapt. But whatever it is, I think the second half of the season, we will be really strong because the adaptation would have happened. And the young players will also continue to grow. And I know we touched upon this briefly, but even someone like Fabio Vieira is looking really good in the last couple of games, imposing himself really a lot more than he used to before. So I think exciting times ahead. We've suffered a lot as a fan base, but I think now we're entering a really exciting and special period. And with the Premier League starting next weekend, I hope all the listeners or viewers of the show will enjoy the last week where they can be stress free, because yeah, the football is about to start, Sham.
I'm excited. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think a really nice thing is, we're not getting thrown into the deep end with our schedule this time around. So, we're starting off with Nottingham Forest, which I think is going to be really beneficial for us. Sash, I think you've frozen a bit. Oh, there you are.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
No worries.
We're saying about getting thrown into the deep end.
Oh yeah, no, I was just saying that we're starting off with Nottingham Forest next week, so we get to ease in a little bit, and it's not like we're playing City or Liverpool, right? Like our first three matches are Forest, Crystal Palace, and then Fulham.
Please don't jinx it. Please, oh God, don't say stuff.
No,
like
I'm not going to say anything more than that, but I'm just saying, that's doable. That's it's not scary immediately. We don't have to be at our best immediately against like United or City or Liverpool or anything like that. So I think it's looking good. It's looking good to start the season.
It's looking good, Brev. Have you seen that meme of that? Yeah, it's looking good. But I think that's a really good point to end this podcast. It's been a really nice evening to see Arsenal win a trophy. I know it's not a big trophy, but it's something to start to get the ball rolling again. It's great to see us win. And also thank you all for those who tuned in. And thank you all for listening. It really means a lot. And for your comments as well. It means a lot to us. We have some big things planned, so stay tuned with that. You can find me on Twitter at LT Arsenal, and you can find Sham on Twitter at Shamsdale. He actually likes Aaron Ramsdale, but he just puts Sham with whatever player he likes in a said month. So maybe the art will change, but for now, it's Shamsdale. So please check him out.
I used to do it more often. Then I would message you and be like, And you'd just be like, wait, it took me a second to remember who I was talking to.
Yeah, I was like, wow, he has so many identities. But yeah, for now, you can find Sham on Twitter at Shamsdale. You can check out our podcast as well on Twitter at This Week Arsenal. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, again, This Week in Arsenal. And yeah, we'll be doing this every week. We're going to be really regular with this, and we really enjoy doing this and discussing Arsenal in your ears. So, on that note, thank you guys for tuning in once again. And we will see you all after we win the Premier League's first game against Nottingham Forest. So, until then, take care, stay tuned, and once again, thank you for tuning in.
Bye, guys.